Commemoration Day. On the 14th legislative day, the journal's been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator, for your good works on the journal. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions introduced, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 123 by Senators Fort of the 39th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 7 of Chapter 14.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 124 by Senators Davenport of the 44th and others.
Public Safety.
Senate Bill 125 by Senator Stone of the 23rd. A bill to be entitled an act to amend
Judiciary.
Article 1. Senate Resolution 201 by Senators Harbison of the 15th and others. A resolution requesting...
Veterans.
Senate Resolution 203 by Senators Schaefer of the 48th
Rules.
and others. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Clerk will read report of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate State and Local Governmental Operations Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation: that House Bill 5 do pass, that House Bill 72 do pass, that House Bill 147 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Ligon of the 3rd. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Clerk will read second readers.
Senate Bill 81 by Senator Wilkinson of the 50th and others. Forest Resources, shorten the legal season for harvesting ginseng. Senate Bill 87 by Senator Ginn of the 47th and others. Roadside Markets Incentive Program, repeal. Senate Bill 91 by Senator Harper of the 7th and others. Emerging Crops Fund Act, repeal. Through with the order, Mr. President.
It's now time for the morning roll call. Time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Senator from the 15th.
Mr. President, move that unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 2nd, please.
Senator from the 2nd. Without objection, the senator from the 2nd will be excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd.
Business away from the Capitol.
23rd. Without objection, the senator from the 23rd will be excused. Chair recognizes senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 32nd for business outside the Capitol.
32nd, without objection, that senator will be excused as well. Any other motions to excuse? Chair recognizes senator from the 35th.
Mr. President, I please excuse the senator from the 36th. She's en route. The senator from the 10th. And what's Lester Jackson's? 2?
No, we already got the 2nd.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So the 10th and the 36th.
Yeah.
Senator has asked for unanimous consent to excuse both the senator from the 36th and the senator from the 10th. Without objection, the two senators will be excused. Any other motions to excuse? I want to say to all the senators, we're breaking virtually every rule in the Senate today, but y'all seem to be really having a good time with it, I'll tell you. All of you look good in your blue jeans on this John Bullock Day, and great way to remember our good friend. Secretary will call the roll of senators. Please signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It's now time for our morning devotion, and I thought what we might do, since we're breaking every rule, the senator from the 18th is going to be doing our morning devotion, but I thought I might just call on the senator from the 24th to come and sing us a little song, you know, for John Bullock, something to give us a little inspiration. Look, the body is wanting a little. The body's wanting a little. The body's wanting a little something from the center from the 24th. Won't you see what you can? You come on up here. Come up here and muster a little something up. And let's make sure we get this on video now.
Yeah.
You hurry up, sweetie.
I heard a sound of a mighty rushing wind, and it's closer now than it's ever been. I can almost hear the trumpet as Gabriel sounds the call. At the midnight cry, we'll be going home. When Jesus steps out on a cloud to call his children, the dead in Christ shall rise to meet him in the air. And then those that remain will simply be changed at the midnight cry when Jesus comes again. Thank you very much.
I tell you, John Bullock be walking on clouds. Oh, that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well, I'm glad I'm not having to follow that, I'll tell you that. But we really are honored to have the senator from the 18th who serves as the majority whip from Middle Georgia and does a phenomenal job. And so call upon him. Well, actually, before I call upon him, I will join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Present the senator from the 18th.
Governor, if I'd known I was going to have to follow the senator from the 24th, I don't think I would have accepted this assignment. But nevertheless, I'm honored to be before you this morning. Good morning to each of you. There's an old Chinese curse, though no one has ever really discovered its origins. It goes like this: may you live in interesting times. I suppose that each generation, at one time or another, feels the weight of that curse. I don't know about you, but I've reached that certain age when I sometimes ask, Lord, how much more interesting can it get? Things change swiftly. There's nothing constant but change, and sometimes that change can be incredibly uncomfortable. The Old Testament is the story of God's relationship with God's people and their journey together through interesting times. It's a story of ups and downs, twists and turns, decisions and destiny. It's about God's great love for God's people, but it's also about the people and their decisions, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and it's about the consequences of those decisions. One of my favorite Old Testament characters is the prophet Jeremiah, sometimes called the weeping prophet. Jeremiah was cursed to live in interesting times. To be God's spokesperson and voice for the southern kingdom of Judah in the years leading up to the destruction of Jerusalem and the Babylonian exile. These were tumultuous times. From his call to be a prophet about 627 BC, he lived to see the fall of Assyria, the rise of Babylon, Egypt's last stand with his small nation, Judah, caught in between these warring giants. There were no more difficult days or interesting times for the people of the Old Testament. It was for that time, for those people, that Jeremiah offered words of admonition and challenge, but also encouragement and hope. Most of all, he wanted his people, the people of Judah, to make good decisions, right choices, hoping that to do so might reverse or even prevent a tragedy which he foresaw just around the corner for his people. One of my favorite texts, my favorite verse, in fact, in the Old Testament is from the book that bears Jeremiah's name. It's just a single verse, but in it, Jeremiah sums up the best advice I've ever seen for people who live in interesting times, who have important choices to make, who make decisions that may have enormous impact and consequence. Listen to Jeremiah's word. Thus says the Lord, stand by the roads and look, and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. You see, Jeremiah saw Judah at a very important crossroad. Decisions were needed. Failure to act correctly or to make the right decision could only bring heartache and destruction for his people. The northern kingdom of Israel had fallen decades before to the Assyrians. Now Judah's fate hung in the balance as world powers around her warred for dominance. Jeremiah said, when you come to the crossroad, a decision has to be made. Do you turn left? Do you turn right? Do you go straight ahead or even turn back and go no further? Jeremiah says, stand by the roads and look. Don't stand in the middle of the road. You might get run over. But rather, take your time, look around before making that decision. Look before you leap. And then, curiously, he says, ask for the ancient paths. The Hebrew here suggests that he's referring to looking for the well-worn road, where the deepest ruts are cut into the road, where others have traveled before. Sometimes we can learn from those who've gone before. Now, old is not always better. Sometimes a new path must be taken. The past is not always the best indicator for making correct decisions today, but at least take it into consideration, Jeremiah says. Certainly we can learn from those who have traveled the road before us. And then Jeremiah adds in this brief verse, where the good way is. The Hebrew word for good can have many nuances. It can mean excellent, pleasant, agreeable, appropriate, kind, benign, right, and even ethical. When making important decisions, Judah is admonished to choose wisely, correctly, appropriately. Consider the past, but ultimately go the way of the good. Make the choice that is right and most appropriate. Once you've determined the direction to take, Jeremiah continues, walk in it. Thomas Carlyle wrote, "Conviction is worthless unless it is converted into conduct." That's what Jeremiah is saying. Don't be afraid to make the decision. Once you've considered what experience teaches, and once you've determined what the right path is, walk in it. Indecision is not usually a virtue. Fear of moving forward or a failure to act can sometimes be just as bad as making the wrong choice. Walk in it, Jeremiah says, and then he makes a remarkable statement: and find rest for your souls. Jeremiah knew that there is a peace that comes when making decisions that are good and right. When you know you've done your homework and you've done the right thing, rest comes much, much easier. Stress is an unavoidable part of life, and certainly the life of a senator or an elected official. But there's no better satisfaction than knowing in your heart and soul that you have considered the options and done what you feel is right. No one can ask more of you than that. Unfortunately, Jeremiah's wonderful advice, encapsulated in so few words, ends with a very sad statement. Perhaps one of the saddest statements in all of the Bible. But they said, "We will not walk in it." Jeremiah's advice to Judah was rejected. Their fate was sealed by their decision at their crossroad. Babylon conquered Judah, Jerusalem fell, the temple was destroyed, and a generation went into exile. We need to remember, decisions have consequences. I don't remember it all the time, or as much as I should, but I've lived long enough to realize the wisdom of this one short verse and Jeremiah's great advice for all of us who are cursed to live in interesting times. When you come to the crossroad, take a look around. What can the past teach us? What is the right choice? Do it. Find peace and satisfaction within. Simple, brief, profound, and timeless wisdom from the prophet Jeremiah. Let us pray. God of grace and God of glory, grant us discernment to judge correctly, wisdom to know what is right, strength to take action, and the peace of the righteous. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, grant us strength, give us peace for the living of these days. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
We would like to present the Doctor of the Day, and to do so, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 50th.
If I could have your attention, please, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our Doctor of the Day today, who I consider a true American hero. Dr. Stephen Girard was born and raised in Northeast Oklahoma. He was appointed to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and graduated in 1982, accepting a commission as infantry officer in the U.S. Army, training at Fort Benning, Georgia on many occasions. After serving in various command and staff positions for 14 years, to include an assignment back at West Point on the faculty, he received a health profession scholarship from the Army and graduated from the James H. Quillen College of Medicine at East Tennessee State University in 2000. Following general surgery residency at Fort Gordon, Georgia, Dr. Girard served as an Army surgeon at Fort Stewart, Georgia, to include 2 combat tours with a forward surgical team in Afghanistan. Dr. Girard, I guess that qualifies you to be the Doctor of the Day in the Senate. Dr. Girard retired from the Army in 2010 and accepted a position as a general surgeon at Mountain Lakes Medical Center in Rabun County. He has since taken on additional duties as an emergency room physician, inpatient rehab medical director, and also serves as a chief medical officer. Dr. Girard and his wife Angie live in Lakemont and have enjoyed coming back home to the beautiful Northeast Georgia mountains. Please welcome Dr. Stephen Girard.
Thank you, Senator. I bring you greetings from Rabun County in Northeast Georgia. And I would like to say that I am not a hero, but I've been privileged to work for some and to help some. And that was my great honor to my last day. I want to say that it's a great honor, and I'm very humbled to be here in the People's House. And since the people cannot be here, I'm glad to have a few minutes to speak to those of you who represent us. When I was active duty, and when people find out that I'm a retired officer, they often say, "Thank you for your service." And they truly mean it. And I often say to them, "Thank you for your support and the support of the American people for what we did." I would like to sincerely say to each and every one of you something that you may not hear often, because I know you get a lot of phone calls and I know you get a lot of complaints, and it's real easy to hear about this being wrong and that being bad. But I would like to say to each and every one of you that answered the call, thank you for your service. And I looked it up, and I know you all don't do this for the money. And I know that it is a sense of belonging, and I want to be brief, and I'm not here to lobby, but we've got to all pitch in to help healthcare, and I will always speak up for that, especially in rural areas. And my heart goes out to people around Calhoun, Georgia, and that county. Their hospital closed last week. We've got to stop this from happening. Your hospital in a rural area, besides being a center for healthcare, is probably one of the larger employers in that county, and so we have to help them. But let me share with you one story that I would like to apply to each and every one of you as well. When I was in Afghanistan in 2009, I used to send an email update to all my friends about what we did, and one of them once emailed me back and said, "Steve, some people on their dying day look back at their life and wonder if they ever made a difference." And he said, "At least you know that you make a difference every day." And I would like to thank each and every one of you for answering the call and having the courage and inconveniencing yourself and being away from your family and your home and your real job to come here and work for us. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Very good. Very good. Appreciate that. I appreciate y'all. That was great. Very inspiring. Let's get a picture. We'll come down on the steps. Let's step down a couple of steps. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the few minutes. Thank you. Have a special recognition we would like to honor at this time. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 188 by Senators Carter of the 1st and others. A resolution recognizing and commending law enforcement cooperation between the State of Georgia, the United States Department of State, and the Republic of Georgia. Whereas the United States Department of State's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, or INL, and the U.S. Embassy in Georgia endeavor to assist law enforcement authorities in the Republic of Georgia as they seek to improve law enforcement competencies and response to emergencies through a long-term criminal justice development program, which began in 2003. And whereas the Georgia Bureau of Investigation responded to an INL request for assistance by sponsoring site visits to the GBI and its crime laboratory while also providing law enforcement development classes for the MOIA. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and its employees for their selfless donation of time and experience reflected in the assistance provided to the Republic of Georgia Ministry of International Affairs. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Appreciate the great GBI that we have in our state, and to recognize our special guest, to call upon the distinguished senator from the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, we are blessed today to have with us the director of the GBI and some of his staff, and he's got some special guests that he's going to introduce to us in just a second. But before he does, I just want to make a comment. You know, we're blessed in the state of Georgia to have a number of great departments, and certainly the GBI is one of them. I know that Director Keene would agree with me when I say that he has surrounded himself with good people. And that is one thing that is important in management, and we understand that. But we are blessed to have a great GBI here in the state of Georgia, and certainly headed up by Director Keene. And at this time, I'm going to invite him to tell us about this special program that the GBI has entered into with the country of Georgia.
Thank you, Senator Carter. My mother's never around when someone says something nice about me, but I do very much appreciate the senators allowing us to come forward with you this morning and to introduce to you officials from the country of Georgia National Police. Now, the state of Georgia, through the Georgia National Guard and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, has a long-standing relationship with the country of Georgia. And we work through the State Department in having GBI agents and crime lab scientists go to the country of Georgia and train our counterparts there. And as you well know, the country of Georgia was part of the Soviet Union. It is now a democracy, an independent country, and a very strong ally of the United States. And we have formulated a very strong relationship between our state and the country of Georgia, because it is all of our mutual interest to have such a strong ally and a democratic law enforcement national police. So these are the officials who are visiting our agency and are going through a training process here in the United States. Then we will have GBI agents who will take their vacation time on their own time and go over through the State Department and train these officials and their counterparts in the country of Georgia. Thank you very much for honoring these great law enforcement officials from the other part of the world. Thank you.
Get some pictures, okay?
Excellent. Well done. Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Senator from the 39th is recognized to do so.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I want to acknowledge the positive changes to the HOPE grant that were announced yesterday. We think that is the right way to go in affording young people the opportunities for a technical college education. We think that those 9,000 families will be greatly affected positively. And we appreciate the governor coming around to our point of view. And we appreciate the semi-bipartisanship of his presentation yesterday. At the same time, I want to remind you that there were 42,000 students, 42,000 families who were left out of the opportunities to receive a technical college education. And we're glad to know that 9,000 of those 42,000 families will be able to participate in the program now. But it doesn't go far enough. There are 30,000 students, there are 30,000 families that are left out in the cold. These are 30,000 young people. And let me tell you what the HOPE grant is really about. It's about working class kids, working class families, working class employees who flip burgers and clean up behind us at the hotels in the state of Georgia. It is about those young people. It's about those students scratching and clawing into the middle class. This is about whether the middle class will expand or whether it will contract as it has over the last 5 years since the recession. So we appreciate this tweak, this change, going from a 3.0 back down to, well, to a 2.0 GPA. But the fact of the matter is there were other changes made to the HOPE grant. And that's why you've got another 30,000 students who will be shut out of those certificates, those HVAC certificates, those certificates and associate's degrees that are so important to ensuring that they will have an opportunity to become a part of the middle class. The changes that were made by this administration not only increase the GPA, but they decrease the amount that the HOPE grant will cover. And that's why another 30,000 students are on the outside looking in. Another 30,000 students who will not have the opportunities they ought to be afforded to. And we appreciate the governor saying that he's not going to consider any more changes to the HOPE grant because he's not going to consider anything that might bring us back or bring the program back to the cusp of what he said is bankruptcy. Well, the fact of the matter is, and we appreciate that, but what he ought to take into consideration is this question: how do we train and educate those students who want the HOPE scholarship, those 30,000, because we will most certainly become bankrupt if we allow the hopes of our young people to be abandoned. So I would ask you to support some of the legislation that has been put in the hopper to expand the HOPE grant, to restore the HOPE grant in a fiscally responsible way. But the fact of the matter is, what was announced on yesterday does not do what is necessary to help educate young people in this state. Mr. President, I'll yield the well, and I look forward to a further discussion of the HOPE grant and the HOPE scholarship so that we can try to make Georgia a place where kids can move from the working class into the middle class. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 22nd, point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I would ask you if I could have your attention for just one moment. If I could have your attention for just one moment. I want to take an opportunity to reflect on the life and the legacy of former Speaker Pro Tem, the late Jack Connell, who many of you know passed on yesterday. He was a great Georgian and an even greater Augustan from Augusta. And I wanted to remind everyone, I think Secretary of the Senate, Bob Ewan, has sent out some information related to his homegoing celebration on tomorrow. I know that there may be some of you who are traveling and coming, but for those of you that did not know Jack and have an opportunity to meet with him, again, fine gentleman. He and Nan are longtime residents of Augusta, and we just want to take a moment to not only reflect on what he has meant to the great state of Georgia, having served as Speaker Pro Tem for 26 years. In fact, often recognized as the longest serving Speaker Pro Tem in the country. And so for those of you, if you would, at this moment, if we'll take a moment of silence for the late Speaker Pro Tem, Honorable Jack Connell. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from the 43rd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, if you will join me briefly for a Black History Month tribute. A proclamation: President Lincoln legally ended slavery on January 1st, 1863 by declaring free all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States. Slavery ended, but not slave-like working conditions that free men and women were forced to accept. Without land, food, shelter, money, or clothing, many former slaves were forced to remain on the plantation. Jubilation was short-lived for many. They called it Jubilee, the day that freedom came. It came almost 300 years after almost 300 years of cruel bondage and deaf ears refusing to hear my people's cries. It came after millions had died in chains and tens of thousands had perished on the battlefield. It came after the advancement of Union troops and the defeat of Confederate regiments. But to most, at least in spirit and in principle, it came with the Emancipation Proclamation, the presidential edict that declared my people henceforth and forever free. News of President Lincoln's plan to free the slaves traveled quickly among my people. It sped along the plantation grapevine, through conversations overheard in the big house, and carried to the slave quarters. My people received the news cautiously, wondering if the president would go through with his plan. But Lincoln was determined. Slavery had divided the nation and cost millions in lives. On January 1, 1863, President Lincoln signed the final draft of the Emancipation Proclamation. In it, he named the states and portions of states that were still in rebellion and declared those in bondage free. Nothing could match the euphoria witnesses tell of the day that the president signed the Emancipation Proclamation. In the nation's capital, my people filled the streets, the town halls, the African churches, praying, praising, and thanking God. They had lived to see this long-awaited day. Old women sang and testified. Old men wept openly. At coastal ports in the South, freedmen came from miles around to attend Jubilee celebrations, complete with parades, speeches, and feasts. The crowds were deeply touched when at first an old man and then several black men and women sang, My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, capturing the sacred mood of the day in a way no speeches could. But as great as the edict was, the Emancipation Proclamation was far from perfect. First, the president declared only those slaves in the Confederate States where he had no authority, and left in bondage nearly 1 million in the portions of Tennessee, Louisiana, and Virginia under Union control. Second, since slaveholders were not about to let their bondsmen walk off merely because the North's president had declared them free, freedom would come when and if the Union defeated the South, or if the enslaved escaped behind Union lines. Third, if people were waiting for the emancipation to strike a moral chord against slavery, they were disappointed. Twice the president mentioned that the action was taken as a necessary war measure for suppressing the rebellion. Still, with all of its shortcomings, my people greeted it as a long-awaited godsend. It may not have been all that learned men had hoped for, but it was more than the common slave ever dreamed. Celebrations lasted from New Year's Eve to the dawn of the day of emancipation. On April 9th, 1865, the Civil War ended. Yet the issue of freedom and equality for the black man would continue to divide the nation. What freedom was like and what it would bring to my people was not yet known. But they knew that slavery's chains had been broken. From the cotton plantations of the Deep South to the rice fields of the coastal states, there rose a freedom song. No more drivers lash for me. No more, no more. No more drivers lash for me. Many thousands gone. I thank you for your attention. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 54th. Point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've had two very nice lessons already this morning. I thank my friend for the lesson about where we've come and continue to go in the terms of freedom and the experiment in freedom in our country. I also appreciate my friend the Minority Whip for giving us a lesson on his caucus's vision and view for Georgia. Not 24 hours have passed since we were able to proudly announce the expansion of opportunity provided by the state of Georgia for technical education, skills development, bridging the gap between the Georgia we need and the Georgia we have. And the whip stands before you and says that what is not given freely is not available. This is the vision of his caucus, apparently. To stand before you and say that 30,000 people have no opportunity because it's not given freely by the government. God forbid that that is the Georgia I leave to my children. Thank you, Mr. President. I leave the will.
Chair recognizes the distinguished majority leader.
Where'd he go?
On second thought, I'm not going to recognize the majority leader. I don't know where he went. I don't know. Please continue. That's right. Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of this Senate. I think we all need to sit back and take a breath. You know, hope came because folks needed hope. And in its infinite wisdom, the Georgia General Assembly, with then Governor Zell Miller, passed the Georgia lottery. When we started out, it was income-based. It was income-based. Wasn't open up for everybody. It was income-based, based on the needs. And somehow we got away from it. It became a very popular program, and everybody wanted in it, so we took the incomes off. But one of the things that happened to Hope, ladies and gentlemen, that we said we would not do, and that is we would not let lottery money supplant state money in education. And that is what happened in Georgia. We failed to give the money to the university system of Georgia, one of the fastest growing university systems in this country. We failed to give them the money that they needed to operate. So how did they pick up that money? They picked up that money because they looked at how many kids would get Hope and would pay the tuition and the fees. And that's how Hope got in trouble, because we in the General Assembly did not fund the university system out of the state's budget, but allowed Hope to pay the bill, and that's how we got in trouble. Now, hope is about hope. It's not about those who might have had all of the financial opportunities to go to school, to ride in a BMW or Jaguar to school. It was about giving folks an opportunity so that they could be the best that they could be in this great state of Georgia. So let all of us understand, we didn't get in this mess by ourselves. We got in it because we didn't do what we needed to do, and that was to fund the university system of Georgia. And so Hope bared that expense, and that's how we got in trouble with Hope. So let's understand, when we are dealing with this year's state budget, that we've got to deal with a growing Georgia. We've got to deal with young folks who are going to school because there are not any jobs out there for them. That's always been the case. When the economy went bad, people went to school because they had to change. So I would ask you, look at how we got there. And as we deal this year, let's find a way to try to make sure that we put the money that is necessary, needed into our university system, so that we won't have the kind of debates over lottery or Hope money. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll try this again. I just want to take a moment and welcome our newest senator, Senator-elect Dr. Dean Burke. He's already proved to be elusive, so he's going to have a great career down here, I'm sure. If everyone will please join me in welcoming him. Senator, welcome.
Yield away. A good physician out of Bainbridge. We're real proud to have him. He's going to do a wonderful job and should get sworn in on Monday. So we'll look forward to those celebrations. Chair recognizes the senator from the. Tell you what, senator from 20th. Is he going? We've got a little bit of time as we're waiting on the confirmation to come forward. As all of us know, today is John Bullock Day. We've got a very special resolution that we will read and adopt, and then I'd also like for us to get a picture of everyone in their blue jeans in honor of our dear friend, Senator John Bullock. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 194 by Senators Chance of the 16th and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Senator John D. Bullock Jr. and declaring Friday, February 8, 2013 as John Bullock Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas Senator John D. Bullock Jr., a Republican, was first elected to the Georgia Senate representing the 11th District in 2002, and whereas prior to his election to the Senate, Senator Bullock served in the House of Representatives and was first elected in 1998. And whereas Senator Bullock represented the citizens of Colquitt, Decatur, Early, Grady, Miller, and Seminole counties, and parts of Mitchell and Thomas counties. And whereas Senator Bullock served as a chairman of the Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee and as vice chairman of the Natural Resources and Environment Committee. And whereas he was also a member of the Appropriations and Rules Committees and an ex officio member of the Banking and Financial Institutions Committee. Whereas Senator Bullock attended elementary school and secondary school in the Thomas County School District before studying for 2 years at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in Tifton, Georgia, majoring in agriculture. And whereas a successful fourth-generation farmer born in Thomas County, Senator Bullock is the owner of Bullock Farms, where he grows and harvests pecans and row crops. And whereas a man of deep and abiding faith, Senator Bullock is a member of the First Baptist Church of Thomasville. And whereas he has served as chairman of the Thomas County Board of Commissioners for 14 years and was a member for 20 years, and whereas Senator Bullock is united in love and marriage to Miriam Garner of Thomas County, and they are blessed with 3 remarkable daughters, Dee, Joni, and Ashley, and 4 cherished grandchildren, Marks, Sarah, Catherine, Graham, and Lawson. And whereas it is abundantly fitting and proper that the innumerable hours that this exemplary Georgian has spent in service to the state be recognized and wholeheartedly commended. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize Senator John D. Bullock Jr. for his dedicated service to the state of Georgia and declare Friday, February 8, 2013 as John Bullock Day at the state capitol. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for that reading of a wonderful resolution. The only thing is if Senator Bullock was here, he would tell you that those are not pecans, they're pecans. And with that small change, without objection, the resolution is therefore adopted. To speak to the resolution, I call upon distinguished senator from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing about this Senate body is it's a family. We can disagree on different issues and have different opinions, but this is a family. When the senator from the 39th was going through treatments and all, we had him on our prayer board in Perry, Georgia at our Sunday school class. Because we respect each other, we all have a little difference of an opinion. My wife has a difference of opinion on some things, but she wins all the debates. But anyway, so Senator Bullock was a good man. He still is a good man. The song the senator from the 24th sang, I know Jesus is going to call us all home one day, but Senator Bullock's going to hang in there with us for a lot longer. He is at home. That's where he needs to be. He needs to get his health back and enjoy watching grandchildren grow up. And I just want to say that when I got elected in 2002, Senator Bullock also got elected to the Senate in 2002. He got a promotion out of the lower chamber and got moved up to the Senate. And I didn't know Senator Bullock, but I got a phone call from him because we were going to be office mates. And Lord have mercy, by the time we got through talking, I said that man could talk paint off a wall. But he was a great friend. I miss him because I don't have 6 a.m. coffee anymore because he always had the coffee ready for us at 6 a.m. in the Capitol so we could all sit down there and just talk about the day or anything else we wanted to talk about, really. But so I miss him as a friend. Senator Bullock is back down on his farm, and probably, after this session passes, he's probably going to be saying, maybe God was just telling me it's time to go home. and enjoy the rest of my life and enjoy grandchildren growing up. Senator Bullock served his community, I think, for 20 years on the county commission. I think 14 years of that he was the county commission chair, and then came to the House of Representatives and then the Senate. So he has worked hard for his community, been involved in his community, and was a great agriculture chairman here in the Senate. So Senator Burke, you got great large shoes to fill. He is a great Southwest Georgia man, and we all miss him. We miss the ability, whatever he told you, you could bank on it. Even if you didn't agree with it, you knew right where he stood, and I think that's important. You always can trust what he's going to tell you. So with that, I miss my friend Senator John Bullock. I'm going to ride down to Oclotney, Georgia, and have lunch with him one day soon, and just hang out with him on the farm, because that's a beautiful place down there where he lives. So with that, I would hope all of you would send him a note. Just tell him how much you miss just seeing him. It's great to have Blue Jean Day today. Mr. President, I think every Friday ought to be Blue Jean Day in honor of the great senator from Oclotney, Georgia this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from the 13th. Point of personal privilege. Also say some things about Senator Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, distinguished members of the Senate. Before I say a word or two about Senator Bullock, I want to make one comment about education. The senator from the 24th and I were talking about yesterday, and we were trying to decide who was the oldest in this Senate, and we decided it was probably one of us. And we were reflecting back on education, and both of us remember when we were in grammar school that we had the 4th or the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade all in one room, and the room wasn't much bigger than half the size of this on my right side. And I recall that I had a cousin who was in the 5th, and he was so smart they decided they'd let him skip the 6th and put him in the 7th. Well, he moved from this side of the room to that side of the room, and bless his heart, in 2 months he had to move back to this side of the room because he couldn't make the grade. But education is very important, whether it's technical or whatever. I had the opportunity to serve as a judge of Superior Court for at least 26 years, and I found that during that period of time there are two characteristics of those who wind up in prison, and it seems like it's all the same. They have no education and they have no job. So if we can educate them and get them a job, we'll not only serve our people, but we'll cut down on our prison system. But in regard to Senator Bullock, many of you knew him a lot longer than I did. I have known of him for many years, but only got to know him personally when I came to the Senate 4 or 5 years ago, and all of you know that he's a man of great strength and character, and he was a friend of each and every one of ours. I think also some of you may remember Henry Bostic, who served in the House many years ago, and Henry was like Senator Bullock in a lot of ways. He had an opinion, he thought it out, and he expressed it, and he stood on it, and he was glad to work with you and help you. When I think about Senator Bullock, I think about what Henry Bostic had to say about one of our deputy sheriffs who passed away many years ago, and his name was Jake Walker. He was the first African-American to serve as a deputy in Tift County, and I don't know what year that was. But Jake was a retired military, served in the military 20-plus years, and as deputy sheriff for several years. And Henry spoke at his funeral, and he said at that time, he said that Jake was such a fine guy, a great guy, respected by all, a man of great character and integrity, And if we had a Jake Walker or if we had a John Bullock on every block, on every street in this state and in every state around this country, what a better country this would be. God bless you, Bullock. We love you, and we'll see you soon.
Well said, Senator. He may be watching us, he may be streaming us live, so y'all better be careful what you say. Mr. Technology. He's a good man, there's no doubt. I would like to just say a quick something about Senator Bullock. He's just a dear friend and a wonderful man and a person that really does exemplify, in my view, what a senator is all about. His word was always his bond. You never, ever had to worry that he was going to do the wrong thing, because he would always do the right thing each and every time. I've seen him go through difficult times, difficult circumstances, and I've seen him get about as angry and as mad as anybody I could ever remember. But the thing about him is he had a great heart, and he has a great heart. And the thing that I remember most about him is that his character and his integrity, the things that he really believed in, and many of you saw him fight on illegal immigration and issues of that nature, and he was the kind of guy that was willing to stand alone in order to stand for his convictions. But he also knew how to work through the process, and the only thing that I ever had against him is he wore these stupid blue jeans on Friday. So but we do miss him deeply. We miss his institutional knowledge, his presence, but we are so thankful that we still have him. And I spoke with him on Tuesday, and he's doing very well and continuing to improve and get very strong. And we wish him a full recovery and the very best. He will always be in our thoughts and in our hearts, and the Senate will never forget the legendary John Bullock and all of his great pecans that he'd bring up here to us as well. So thank you all for participating in this wonderful day and the wonderful ceremony in remembrance of our dear friend. Secretary, read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 198 by Senator Tolleson of the 20th. A resolution recognizing and commending the Coweta Fayette South Fulton County Forestry Unit on being named the State Forestry Commission 2012 Northern Unit of the Year and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none. The resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 200 by Senator Tolleson of the 20th and others. A resolution recognizing and commending the Oconee District on being named the State Forestry Commission 2012 District of the Year and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 202 by Senator Ramsey of the 43rd and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Mr. Greg Mason upon the occasion of his retirement and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 204 by Senator James of the 35th and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Mrs. Caroline Diane Pearson Parker and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 205 by Senator Balfour of the 9th. A resolution commending the restaurant industry of Georgia and recognizing February 19, 2013 as State Restaurant Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
Senate Resolution 206 by Senator Balfour of the 9th. A resolution remembering and honoring the life of Miss Nicole Lee Ruiz and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
The House is about 10 minutes away on the resolution, so and we do have to get that handled today, and it does have to be on the machine. So please, no one leave. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Secretary, are there any filed objections on any of the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed in the Secretary's office.
Is there objection to agree and report of committee on state and local governmental operations which favor passage of the bill? Chair hears none. All of those in favor of this local consent calendar will vote aye. Those opposed, no, and the Secretary will unlock the machine. On the adoption of the local consent calendar, the ayes are 47 and the nays are 0, and all the bills on the local consent calendar are therefore adopted. We will stand at ease just for a little while for the waiting on the House to act. Let's all those that have their blue jeans on, why don't we try to get a picture? Tina? Let's do it in front. Yeah, let's do it in front right here if y'all line up. Senator from the 49th, what purpose you rise?
We let those that don't have jeans be in the photograph as well. Just put them in the back. Just put them in the back, Mr. President. Just to honor Senator Bullock. The more the merrier.
There you go. Absolutely.
Okay? You're good.
Stand in the trash can.
got that guy speaking that spoke here.
Now there's another voter. So that's what your letter is. Yeah, we have it on the slide. So that's what's going on. So when you told me that this morning, I'm like, I didn't even ask for
The next order of business today is the nomination and election of the state auditor. The House will be in order pursuant to House Resolution 203, which was adopted Wednesday. The time for the nomination and election of the state auditor having arrived, the floor is now open for nominations. The chair recognizes the chair of the House Appropriations Committee, Chairman Ingram.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, it gives me great pleasure this morning to place the name of Greg S. Griffin in nomination for the position of State Auditor. Irregardless of him being an Auburn University graduate, we still think he's a pretty good guy.
No one's perfect. Chairman England has nominated Greg S. Griffin for the position of State Auditor. The chair recognizes the distinguished minority leader of the House, Leader Abrams, for the purpose of a second.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the nomination of Greg Griffin to serve as the State Auditor.
Very clear. This is a vote on the confirmation.
The name of Greg S. Griffin has been submitted for nomination by Chairman Ingram and has been seconded by the minority leader. For what purpose does the majority leader wish to be recognized? The majority leader has moved that nominations for the position of State Auditor be closed. Is there any objection to the motion of the majority leader? The chair hears none. The name of Greg S. Griffin having been duly submitted, having been nominated, the question before this body is on the nomination of State Auditor. All those voting for the Honorable Greg S. Griffin for State Auditor will vote green or yes. Those opposed will vote red or no, and the clerk will unlock the machines.
Probably have Lipson issues when he comes back Monday.
Are they voting on it right now?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. Are they doing this by
They're voting on it right now.
resolution, or are they doing it just by conference? We see the vote. See it right now. No, we have to have notice. You take the whole element of kidnapping the
Have all members voted?
out of play when you do that.
Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the election of the State Auditor, the ayes are 162, the nays are 0. The Honorable Greg S. Griffin, having received the majority of the votes of the membership of the House for State Auditor, the name of the Honorable Greg S. Griffin is hereby ordered transmitted to the Senate immediately for confirmation.
Senator Hill. I made one giant change.
S. Griffin. Mr. Griffin, let us stand and recognize you.
Beginnings. A little sore throat, a little bit of a cough, a little headache. Maybe.
Everybody's throwing vitamins to get me all this stuff.
Congratulations, I'm about to call
Do you ever do a
Governor
Z-Pack?
Kelly.
You know,
Now the matter is in the
I've
hands
heard
of the
about that one
Senate.
too. Is that what you do?
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's prescription.
Oh. Well, I'd have to ask the doctor about that. Yeah, I didn't go to the doctor this time.
It's just an antibiotic.
Okay.
When I go to,
I think I have though. It's been a year or so, but I think
every year I get this cough, like a dry cough.
Yeah.
It just lasts. It lasts.
I know I had that happen to me like 2 years ago, and I coughed so much that I couldn't walk.
Yeah,
I went down to the doctor the other day. They were like, "You have a fever. You need to, yeah, it just needs to go away."
We're about to go.
So I've been told that it's allergies.
Oh.
But then I take that Z-Pack and it goes away.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to remember that.
That thing's like a magic wand.
Yeah, no kidding.
Third read recapture.
And I just go to like
the House Bill 3.
Like
House
yeah,
Bill
like a
3.
doc in the box in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's just
House
a
Bill
nurse
3 by Representative Willard of the 51st.
You know, it's not, it's funny. I drove by CVS the other day and I saw the minute clinic.
Practice
Maybe I should just go in there.
evidence, respectfully so as to curb
the Z-Pack
of the code due to passage. 2011 House Bill 24, House Bill 24. Change federal language using a right to refresh memory, reassign functions for revision of public health, Department of Green Health, Department of Public Health, and disclosure aids, confidential information. This bill has been before the House Committee on Judiciary. The committee recommends the bill be passed. This being read for its third passage. Chair recognizes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Chairman Willard, to present the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague before you is a bill that is breaking three things that came through with a bill we had 2 years ago, the evidence code rewrite. And it proved that was a fairly expensive bill. There's now three things we need to look at as far as correction. I'm going to go through a quick explanation. Section 1, we did something in the bill that needed to be done all the time. We recognized how documents, legal documents from state and local governments are to be introduced into a court record. What we're doing here is we found one that we didn't catch. We're now correcting that dealt with the Department of Forestry. It just says they will keep their records and proceedings. The rest of it talk about how records are introduced and taken out because the evidence code covers it. Section 2 is a change of one word. You look on line 30. We have changed the word to trial or testifying. The reason for that is this talks about when you have documents that are used to refresh the recollection of a witness by an attorney in preparation for that witness to testify in their client. They may use documents that come out of the attorney's file, which is called as privileged work product. That is not something the other attorney has an opportunity or right to receive those documents. So change there recognize not just at time of trial, but any time that witness is testifying with a hearing, deposition, or otherwise. The third item is just correcting some words of the department that was not done. It is going to change the name of this department, and it's changed
Okay, we've received official notification. Chair, read the message.
The following message was received from the House through Mr. Rivers, the clerk thereof. Mr. President, pursuant to H.R. 203, previously adopted by the House and Senate, and OCGA Section 50-6-1, the name of the Honorable Greg S. Griffin, having received a majority vote of the membership of the House of Representatives for State Auditor, is hereby transmitted to the Senate for confirmation. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 4th.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirm the House of Representatives' election of Greg S. Griffin as State Auditor.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 4th to speak to the confirmation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I'm proud to stand here and to ask that you confirm the nomination of Greg Griffin. If with your concurrence, I'd like to take a moment and just talk about the Department of Audits and Accounts. And the reason I do that is because every time the time I've looked at them, I realize they do a lot more than I realize. And when we have discussed it individually with a few of you, the first thing everybody asks is, what is it that they do? So if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I'll touch on a few of the things that they're responsible for and what a great professional organization that the department is, and thus how important it is that the person running that agency be a highly qualified individual. The Department of Audits is probably the most professional organization in state government when it comes to the number of professionals. For example, within the 270 professionals who work for the Department of Audits, which is a lot bigger than most folks realize, there are 78 CPAs, and some of you may be more knowledgeable of these titles than I am, but there are 7 certified internal auditors, 30 certified fraud examiners, 11 certified information system auditors, 3 certified information system security professionals, 74 other professional designations, but an additional 77, when you add all this up, it's about the total. Just virtually everybody in that organization has an advanced degree of some sort. So when I say they're probably the most professional organization, I think that's probably true. Just an example of the way they've been recognized nationally, they won an award from a national organization last year for an audit report they did on reducing postage and mail service costs. They won a national award for that service as well. Some of the duties they perform for the state, and I left out the most important part in the beginning, is that most folks don't realize that the Department of Audits works for the legislature and is in the legislative branch. While the governor appoints the head and we confirm it, the truth is they are in the legislative part of the budget and are funded through the legislature, and so they are basically a part of our oversight of state government, and that's something that when you hear all the things that they do, you realize that's exactly true. Probably the top thing that they do every year is what we call the CAFRA, and you'll hear that referred to around the Capitol sometimes, which was a real problem in a few years ago. That is the comprehensive annual financial report, which is the annual report like a business produces. This is the annual report on the state of Georgia. You can't go to the bond market and sell bonds without the CAFRA in your hand, and that is how they evaluate the state of Georgia, and that is ultimately how they decide on your bond rating as well. From the audits that they do, they produce something called the single audit report. When I asked Greg, I said, well, what happens, these findings that we read in audit reports, what happens to those findings? He said, well, we produce another report, the single audit report, which lists all those findings. And so if you wanted to know all the things that were wrong that they found in their audits, you could look up that report and check behind it as well. Most of you, if you've seen a fiscal note, you've seen the signature of the state auditor in conjunction with the head of OPB. They signed the fiscal notes that we produced and participate in their production as well. All your retirement funds, both local and state, all the retirement funds have certifications. They are audited by the Department of Audits as well. So who all do they audit? Well, they audit just about everybody that you touch, all state agencies, all the units of the university system, local governments, all the school systems. There are some exceptions to that in school systems, but generally speaking, they audit all the school systems in the state. Nursing home cost report audits, they do those as well. And of course, all your Medicaid providers are audited by this department as well. They also produce or establish the Equalized Property Tax Digest. But probably the most important thing for us they do is performance audits of departments. Each year, the Appropriations Committee will come up with a prioritized list of 3 or 4 areas that we have decided we would like to have looked at by their performance audit section. And many of the reports that you see that you learn something from about state government or identifies problems, or in some cases identifies great work, are produced by this agency, and they really do a great job for us as well. The person we're here to confirm today, Greg S. Griffin, was appointed by Governor Deal back in July and was previously the state accounting officer. The state accounting office was actually created during Governor Perdue's administration when we were having trouble producing this CAFRA. And that one of the great accomplishments of the state accounting office was to catch up that process as well. So Greg served admirably in that position. His background, though, he had over 30 years in accounting and auditing and financial reporting, and followed a 25-year career with Bell South and Singular Wireless. But he began his career with Deloitte, Haskins & Sells as well. He is, of course, a CPA and is an Auburn grad. So we've lost a lot of our Auburn grads in the Senate, so I don't know how much of a cheering section there is out there for Auburn. But I will tell you this, Greg is a refreshing, because of his business experience, he brings, he's a refreshing reflection of what we're trying to do in government today, and is all about change and all about, what is it we can do to make state government better. And it's been my pleasure to get to know him. These are some of the reports you'll see. They're all online. If you need to get on their list, distribution list, if you're not already. In fact, one came out this morning, and you pull it up on your computer and look to the left and see if there's something in there you want to look at. You can just pull it right up and print it or whatever. If not, you can delete it and go ahead. But this is their annual report you can look up as well, which really has a good coverage of the things that they're doing and the things they're accomplishing for the state. So it's my pleasure to ask you to vote to appoint Greg S. Griffin as our state auditor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the distinguished minority leader, the senator from the 41st, to speak to the confirmation.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This is a very important job. It's important in many ways, and the Senator from the 4th outlined the many jobs that they have. It's very important to us to get that kind of analysis of departments and state activities so we can do our job well. I want to commend the governor for his selection, and I want to thank the Speaker and our special thanks to our Lieutenant Governor who were involved in the vetting process, talked to him before the nomination. He has a challenging job. They, like any state agency, has lost staff over the years, and hopefully he'll bring some innovative looks at the system, make sure that our role is protected in the auditing system, that we can get the information we need to serve our citizens. So I was here thanking for the appointment and telling the new state auditor that we look forward to working with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. He's a very, very good man, for sure. All those in favor of the confirmation of Greg Griffin as our state auditor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the confirmation of the state auditor, the yeas are 47, the nays are 0, and state auditor has been confirmed today. He's in the gallery. Please join me in congratulating Greg Griffin. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Monday, February the 11th.
Read the announcements.
Rules will meet upon adjournment in 450 cap.
All right. Majority leaders move that we stand adjourned till 10 a.m. on Monday. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.